Hey everybody, Steve Fretzen here, and welcome back to the Be That Lawyer podcast. Listen, we want to help you be that lawyer. So, as you guys know, this show is to help you do all the stuff you never learned in law school, right? Those pesky things like networking and branding and marketing and time management and all that crap they never signed up for. But guess what? It's now on your plate. If you're listening to this show, it's not because you're a service partner or that you want to stay a service partner. It's because you want to build something beautiful, have freedom, independence and financial freedom in your life. And this is the show to get you started. If you're interested in taking a baby step forward beyond the show, I have books on Amazon you can check out, or we have the Be That Lawyer community, almost 100 rainmakers and business developing attorneys there to answer your questions alongside me. We've got all my content as well as some live events and things that are going to keep you on track. So if you just need a baby step between a coach and where you are now, I'd recommend joining Be That Lawyer community. It's bethatlawyer.com/community. I've got Laurin waiting in the wings. How are you, my friend?
I'm great. Great to be here.
Yeah, great to have you. We had such a lovely lunch in the city. You and Margaret came in, and we got to have I don't think I was drinking at that time, but because I was prepping for a Rush concert with my son. You'd think I'd be drinking, but no, I was I
Right.
was I was gonna
That's
enjoy.
more of a marathon than a sprint. You got to
That
pace
was, yeah,
yourself
I had
with
like a
something like
long
that.
way before that concert. And even then in the concert, I didn't do anything. I was like as sober as can be, but that's okay. We had a lovely time together, but wonderful meeting you and learning about you. And I thought, wow, what an incredible person to have on the show with your
Mhm.
background. So I'm really thrilled that you're here.
Thank you. Delighted to be here.
All right. I'm a big tennis fan. So when you say Billie Jean King is the quote of
Yes.
the show, I was all over that. So here we go. Pressure is a privilege. It comes only to those who earn it. So tell us a little about why you love that quote.
That quote is one that just really resonates with me. I think so often we take on a lot. We're sort of spinning out, we're stressed and not focusing on the bigger picture, not stepping back and not thinking about how lucky we are to get to do something where there is pressure involved, right? When you're, to whether you're a business owner, and my role is consulting and doing operations consulting for law firms, right? There is pressure to that. It's a demanding profession. I'm a former practicing attorney, another demanding profession. And I think sometimes we get so in our head that we don't step back to think how lucky we are to get to do something like that, where there is pressure involved. I'm a lifelong competitor. I have shown horses competitively my entire life. And we were talking before the show, and I said, even though I've showed my entire life, I get nervous before every single competition. But I always think about it like I'm getting nervous because there's pressure involved because I care. And that's a privilege. A lot of times, right, that pressure is coming because we want to be successful. We really care about the work that we're doing, and we forget to remind ourselves of that. And instead of seeing it as a negative, to me, shift that paradigm. This is a positive. You're lucky to be in this position to get to do what you're doing. Now make the most of it.
Well, let's think about someone who has no pressure at all, and what are they accomplishing? Probably very little, right? They're just
Very
sitting,
little.
they're streaming, shows one after another for weeks at a time or whatever. So I
Right.
think I think we all have the privilege of being under pressure. Obviously, we want to balance that with with life and having fun and energy and all that. But that's where a lot of this show comes in. Like when we talk about networking today, networking is a lot of pressure, showing up, being on, meeting with people. There's a lot of introverts that, this is like, you might as well just like stick a needle in their eye or tell them to go to a networking event. So there's
Right.
pressure. Our job in this show and what you're going to help today is like, yeah, there's pressure, but can we reduce the pressure by being well prepared? I was mentioning to you, like I get on stage in front of 1,000 people or 10 people. I'm not nervous. And the reason is because I'm so well prepared. If I wasn't
Yes.
prepared and they were going to ask me about some random thing, then I would be nervous. But if I'm talking about any of my
Right.
subject matter, then no, less nervous. But it's okay to be
Yep.
nervous too.
Yep.
That's just part of it. But I think the pressure, we're trying to reduce the pressure through being and Hey, everybody, do you ever wonder why top executives and athletes are so successful? It's typically because they have a coach, someone that is looking at them from the outside to identify their gaps, identify their potential. That's what I do. I'm Steve Fretzen. and I'm here to help you be that lawyer. If you're interested in a free consultation, click the link below and we'll get together and we'll identify where you can make improvements to be that lawyer. Amazing at what we do. So, any other things you want to share about your background and how you got together with Margaret MB Consulting?
Sure. Thank you for asking. So, as I mentioned, I'm a former estate planning and tax planning attorney. I went to Suffolk Law up here in Boston, and then immediately after graduating, sat for the Massachusetts bar, and then went down to Georgetown Law, where I did my LL.M in taxation and certificate in estate planning. So, definitely a little bit of a tax and a numbers nerd, and love to geek out on that type of stuff. Came back up here to Boston to practiced for about 7.5 years, was an associate at two firms, and then moved to a firm where I took an of counsel position. So I know what it's like to be a young baby and attorney and really rising up through the ranks. I also know what it's like to have to run my own practice, and be solely responsible for that. And then unfortunately was in a bad car accident, and as part of my recovery from that, had to step back for a little bit from the law. Which, so a lot of times that idea of recovering attorneys are people that really didn't enjoy practicing. I loved it. I absolutely loved practicing. Having to sort of pivot, I ended up with an incredible opportunity. I was a member of USA 500 Clubs, which is a national networking organization that caters mainly to attorneys, CPAs, and then other high level professional service providers. I was a member there. Was given an opportunity to go and work for that company, which was really a lot of fun. I went in initially in sort of sales and recruitment, identifying new territories and helping the company expand, and then really moved into running day-to-day operations, got very involved in social media and our marketing efforts, as well, and was there for many years, and was really sort of looking for my next challenge and trying to figure out what I can do. I'm somebody who likes to wear a lot of hats. I like to genuinely feel like I'm making a difference and helping people. And that's when I met Margaret Burke, who is the founder and CEO of MB Law Firm Consulting. We exclusively focus on operations consulting for small and mid-sized law firms, really focusing on the business side of running a law firm. And when I met her, I said to myself, this is somebody I need to go work for, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to make that happen. Because for me, I felt like it perfectly married my experience of years practicing with all the operations experience I gained at USA 500 and all the coaching I did during that time of really helping attorneys get the most out of the networking organization and really position themselves as subject matter experts. But through that course, I would hear a lot of like what they feel like is broken in the way law firms
Yeah.
are set up or running, or things that were preventing them from their business development efforts. And a lot of it goes back to the operations. So I felt like that was a space I could make a real difference in.
Yeah. And when I met you, I didn't immediately think, oh, we should talk about operations on my Be That Lawyer podcast. It was right away. I was like, I want to leverage what you know about
Networking.
networking and how you
Yes.
help lawyers in that capacity. And that's a skill that needs to continue to be honed and everything. And there's so many lawyers that think they're good at networking, but if you look at their numbers, if you look at how much business they actually bring in, it's a lot less than they expected or what they thought it should be. They just know that they're out there and they're
Right.
meeting and they're doing all the exercise of networking. That doesn't necessarily make you a successful networker. So, what do you see as the greatest challenges that lawyers have getting started in networking? I want to talk to you a little bit later about, again, the more advanced folks, but let's start at the
Yep.
beginning.
I think it can be incredibly daunting and overwhelming. I think, again, the law school curriculum doesn't, it's changing over time, but there's not a huge focus on the fact that law is a business. They really focus on training you how to think, but you're not thinking about the fact that law is a business, and that if you want to rise through the ranks and ultimately be an equity partner, a managing partner, have your own book of business, there's a sales component to that role. And that's just not something that we're trained to think about. And therefore, a lot of firms, that's not a component of the way they're training younger attorneys or the mentoring process. That we focus so much on teaching you how to be a good practitioner, but not how to actually bring people in the door. But also a big part of it, right, is people think, okay, well, I can't, I'm so young, nobody's gonna give me business. Well, maybe not now, but you're paving the road because you're not always going to be young in your profession. But it's also about resources that you can bring to your clients. So attorneys are uniquely suited to refer a lot of business to other people. The reason being is that while other attorneys know lots of other attorneys, a lot of people don't necessarily know tons of attorneys. They have their one go-to person that they go to with every single legal question they have, whether it's in that person's area of expertise or not.
Yeah.
You tend to be that trusted advisor for your clients, but for friends and family as well. So when somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, Laurin, you're my friend, you're an attorney, can you I have an employment law issue. That was not my area. I'm going to refer you to somebody else," right? So you're uniquely suited to refer to other people. Part of networking is building up that network. One of the biggest value adds you can bring to your clients is when they say, "Hey, do you know somebody that does fill in that blank?" You want to always be able to say, "Yes, I do. In fact, I know several people. Let me make that connection." Or different response, equally as good. I don't, but I've got an incredible network. So I will get you some names
Yeah.
that I can trust and that I know are vetted because of the people I'm associated with.
Yeah.
Both are equally great answers. You can't say yes if you don't have that network to back you up. So that's part of it, is like
Yeah.
building up that support system for
Right.
you and your clients.
Right. So there's two important elements to building a network and to getting business from networking. And you're bringing up one very important point, which is you need to build out a network that's wide of the best people. And so, like, if you go on 5 dates, one of them or two of them are going to be good, three of them are going to be bad, and
Yep.
you need to date enough estate planning attorneys or
Yes.
litigators or whatever to know that your network is robust with being in a position to refer. And that's why networking
Yes.
groups like USA 500 and Provisors are so valuable,
Yes.
because you're building up a network of people that you like and trust and know are good, so that you have the ability to refer out. And I think lawyers do generally better at that than the next place I'm going to go, which is to then go deep. And so
Yep.
having a network to refer, great, that's important. And you want to be that person, that guy, that gal, whatever. The
Yep.
other part of it is like, who are your best referral partners? And so I asked a lawyer the other day and he goes, well, really anyone. And I said, no, that's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
A personal injury attorney is not going to be likely to refer you the same as an executive comp attorney,
Yep.
because the executive comp attorney has the same clients that you have. The personal
Right.
injury attorney doesn't. So while any attorney can look through their Rolodex in that wide network and find you if they
Yep.
need you, the likelihood of them needing you is far less than someone who's dealing with the same people with different problems, but in the same world that you're in.
Right.
Go.
Right. And
You're
people,
up.
right? People think I'm casting a wide net. Anybody's a good referral source. And I will say I cringe when people say that. They're like, anybody
Cringeworthy.
or any attorney. I'm like, okay, well, you've lost me,
Yeah.
because make it easy for me to introduce you to people that are helpful to you. Not all referral sources are created equally. There's just, based on what you specialize in, there are certain people you naturally can refer to more often, and there are certain people that can naturally refer to you.
Yeah.
So when I was working for USA 500, I would ask that question of members all the time. And so often attorneys, those are my best referral sources. I said, okay, well, with USA 500's model, 65% of the membership has to be comprised of practicing attorneys and CPAs. So you basically just told me that 65% of the members are really good referral sources for you, which means in my mind, not one singular person comes to mind of who I should connect you with.
Mhm.
However, if you say to me, plaintiff side employment law attorneys are great referrals for me, 5 people just came to the top of my list, and I'm going to make those intros right now.
Yeah.
So by not getting specific, people won't make introductions. I'm not just going to randomly start introducing you to attorneys. Like
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that, right? You've got to be really specific, but it also means you've got to take the time to really dissect that and take a look at that. And that's where I think a lot of people, Steve, fall short. They think I just need to be out networking, but they're not running the numbers. They're not looking at return on investment. They're not tracking who referred them in different cases. So the reason they're going really general is because they actually don't know the answer to that question, and they don't want to say that
Yeah.
more often than not. They don't want to say, I don't know who a good referral source is. That feels even worse than saying attorneys or
Yep.
anybody.
And one of the worst feelings you'll ever have is when you're in a group and and someone asks a question like, "Oh, do you do that?" And it's like exactly what you do, and they didn't even know
Yeah,
that. Well, you didn't articulate clearly enough, not only what you do, but maybe who you want to meet and what
yeah,
makes a great specific client for you or a connector for you. And so lawyers that get a lot of business from wealth advisors and CPAs and estate planners, but you never mention that. You just say like, I get referrals from anyone that needs X. Then that's when you fall when things are going to fall short.
absolutely.
Yeah. So let's move on to some things that we agree are like useful tips. So like what would be let's start off with the basics of like how do you select a group? Like is it a BNI, is it a Chamber of Commerce? Is it USA 500? Is it, YPO? Like how do you as an attorney figure out like where you should be going?
Great question. I always think you need to involve yourself typically in numerous organizations, but you want to be really intentional about it. So for me, when I was practicing, I was involved in the Boston Estate Planning Council and the Boston Trust and Estates Consortium, and they were all related to estate planning attorneys and anybody in that space. That's really important because what people also don't realize is often some of your best referral sources are your quote unquote competitors. Not every estate planning client is a good fit for me. I may be conflicted out. I may be at capacity. I don't want to just turn business away. I want to say, I'm really sorry. I'm not able to take you on, but I'd like to introduce you to estate planning attorneys over here who are great. It's also important from having people that if you can just pick their brains on certain things of like, so I think being in groups that are sort of related to your professional area are important. And then being in what I would describe like a Provisors USA 500 or more practice agnostic groups where you're meeting people in a lot of different specialties, because again, that expands your resources that you can offer to your clients.
But different groups have different requirements. So provisors, you
Yeah.
need to be like as an expert in your space or been in your space for 10 years, right?
Yes.
They typically allow one person in a lane, so there's not a competitiveness. Now that is a little flexible, but that's
Yep.
and then we're looking for people that either are great networkers or that are interested in developing and growing.
Yes.
And sometimes those people are good too. Like if you just find someone that is so networked out, it's hard for them to then focus on giving to you because they already have five people in your
Right.
area. But when you find someone that maybe doesn't have the big network, they feel like they're a kid in a candy store because they've got all
Yep.
these new resources they can be sending their clients to. But when I started out, like Chamber of Commerce was my jam because I was
Yeah.
working with small businesses and solos, and it was a local financial planner, it was a local
Yep.
carpet cleaner, and they were all there, right? And then
Right.
as I started kind of like, like going to the higher, than BNI, like more of a leads group where there's more
Yep.
function and control. Then eventually I've worked with lawyers. Well, let me go where the lawyers are. Where are they? Well, they're in these, professional services. So
Right.
go where the level and where the people are, where your connectors are and where your actual clients are. And those are the ones. And then test them out. Like don't join something, go once, meet the person running it, make
Yep.
sure that it's a well facilitated meeting, make sure you like the people in the group. I ran a group yesterday. A guy who's in the audit space came up to me right after, and he's like, "This was incredible. Like, where do I sign?" And I was like, "Okay, well, we're gonna talk it through." But
Yep.
I'm that makes me feel really great that he appreciated the structure of the meeting, the people he
Yes.
met, the level of the room. It was exactly what he was looking for, not where everything's disorganized. No one's on time with anything. We
Yep.
have to skip part of the agenda because they're not following the time constraints and all that. And I'm crazy about time. I mean,
I am too.
maybe over the top crazy, but that's what makes I think the meetings run well, where
Right.
we are always on target. So anyway, that's I just want to share about like finding that, and then what's one tip that you would give to people who find themselves attending a lot and meeting with people for coffees and lunches and drinks, but they're not quite getting the referrals or they're not quite getting the results from the time that they're putting in? What's your biggest tip?
My biggest tip is to go to people in that network that you respect and trust and ask them and be honest. And say, I feel like I'm doing everything I should. I feel like I'm putting the time in and I'm following up and I'm visible and yet I'm not getting any business.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? Because when you ask somebody, they may come in and say, honestly, your messaging is incredibly confusing. I wouldn't have said anything, but you're asking. So let me tell you why. They may be seeing things about how you're presenting or how your message is being received that you're unaware of.
Yeah. It's hard to read the
So
label from inside the bottle. If you're a rainmaker and you're feeling like you're on an island, you don't have anyone to share your ideas with, solve problems with, you're going to want to check out my Rainmaker Roundtables. Click the link below and learn more. Right?
it really
Whether
is.
it's networking, business development, marketing, and that's why getting feedback from other members you trust, the leader, a coach, whatever it might be, you might be like, I would just keep doing this wrong for the next 5 years because no one told me and I didn't know.
Right.
So, and the guy in my group mentioned, got the question, do you do this? And it was exactly what he does. I mean, that means that he needs to clarify his infomercial. And I also said to him, I go, the other thing is, I think you're showing up for the meetings, but you're not meeting with people individually. You're a
Mhm.
relationship guy. When you meet with people individually, it's very hard for them not to know what you do or to not think of you because you've
Right.
put in a little extra 30 minutes an hour with them one on one versus them seeing you monthly in the group. Right.
Right, absolutely. I think, there's that Woody Allen quote of sort of 80% of success in life is just showing up. That is absolutely wrong when it comes to networking. Just showing up is not going to really get you anywhere. And I think people apply that logic. They're like, well, I'm at the meeting. And to your point, well, are you meeting with people individually? Are you speaking up in that meeting? If you're there and you don't talk the whole time, were you really there at all? I mean, arguably, no, that was a waste of your time, right? You have to be visible and you have to build relationships and get to know people, right?
Yeah.
Spending an hour or two once a month in a meeting where you barely say anything or you say one time what you do and then thinking that that's going to resonate and that people are going to remember that and that you're going to be top of mind. They don't know you.
Yeah.
We refer to people. It's that know, like, trust.
Yeah.
We want to refer to people that we like and that we trust, which means I need to get to know you before I can assess that.
Yeah. And something that some groups do, and I know we do in Provisors that's really powerful, is we do testimonials. And what happens is you hear the same people getting thanked over and over and over again,
Yep.
and you hear people that are never thanked. And I want to give a shout out to the people who are never thanked. The reason you're never being thanked is because you're not giving any value. You're not giving connections. You're not utilizing the network to help your clients with things outside of what you do. And I'm not trying to shame anybody, but I'm letting you know right off the bat, showing up, to Laurin's point, isn't the goal. The goal is to show up, to build relationships, and to leverage the people in the room as value and trusted resources to your clients, to your network. And you're not doing it. You're not putting in the work that's going to allow you to help others, help your client, and help someone in the room to be together, to be successful. And then you're wondering why you're putting in hundreds of hours a year and not getting anything. You're not
Yep.
being a giver, which is at the heart of that 80%, 20% showing up, Laurin, right?
Yes.
80% is what you're doing when you show up, and that
Right.
is giving and being a giver.
Yeah, and I think people misinterpret what being a giver means. They think that means I'm referring you business. That is a component of
Yep.
giving. That's not the only way that you can give to people in your network, right? Being a connector is far more valuable. You could refer me one client, and I'm grateful for that client. That's one client. If you connect me with somebody who has the ability to continue referring me people, that one introduction is far more valuable to me than you sending me one client.
Yep.
Um, Find ways to support one another. Somebody's speaking at the bar, whatnot, showing up for that, helping to promote it, going on social media. Who are the people that are making posts, reposting their content, things
Yeah.
like that, helping to drive their visibility awareness to them. there's so many different ways that you can give, even if you don't have a referral to give to somebody. And I think in a networking context, people are like, I don't have a referral. That's the only way I can give. That's
Well, that's
simply
very, it's
not.
very hard, Laurin. I mean, I don't have business to give all of these. I have 30 people in a room. I don't have business to give 30
No,
people, and I'm working in a niche. I don't work with CEOs and HR directors and the people they want to meet. My goal is to do what you're saying, which is to refer them to the lawyers that I know that can feed them the work to help their college kid who wants to get into sales, marketing, branding,
right.
to help him find or her find a job or to get them an internship and build value that way. It's to help them on social media, to your point. So important what you just said, because there that misnomer makes networking very scary. Like, I don't have anything to
Yes.
give, when in fact you do. You just have to open it up to a wider net. Then I have a piece of business for you.
Right. And part of it is you've got to be an active listener. Somebody's talking about their kid who's looking for an internship. You should immediately be thinking to yourself, how can I help? So often we
Yeah.
just say, oh, good, I hope your kid gets one. And it ends there. And you didn't do anything wrong, but you weren't helpful. And for most people, if you help them with their kid or a personal matter, they will never forget that,
Yeah.
and they will go out of their way to want to help you. Again, they will say that was more valuable to me than you sending me 10 clients. You helped my kid get a job.
Yeah, like, forget about it. Like, you're
And
you're
right,
you're a lock. You're a
you're
friend for
locked,
life
and
with
the
that. Yeah.
opportunities, if you, again, if you change your mindset and you really show up and you're present in these meetings and you're looking for opportunities of how you can help people, if that is your mindset, I want to listen for opportunities to help people, it will change every meeting that you're in. It will be more interesting, more fun, and you will find so many opportunities that are there that you weren't looking for them before, and they passed right over you.
Yep. Yep. Awesome. Well, Laurin, we have covered a lot of ground from all the way from the very beginning, selection of a group, all the way through what's the most valuable thing you should be doing in a group. And I'm hoping that everybody listening is getting some value from what we're sharing, because there's a lot of mistakes that we've made, and there's a lot of experience behind you and I becoming great networkers and helping other people to become great networkers. But on the other side of the coin, what's Laurin's big mistake?
Um, God, I've made so many, Steve. We would need 12 podcasts to cover it. But
Most
here's
common
one I
answer
made,
on the board is, I've
right?
made so
Here's one
many.
I made really early in my career. I'm a first year associate at a law firm at an estate planning department. Was working on a client matter, and I had a question about something, right? And so instead of, so I just marched myself down to the partner's office and I politely knocked on the door and asked if I could have a few minutes of their time. And they said yes. And I sat down and I said, I'm working on this file that you assigned to me. And I've got a question about X, Y, and Z. And the partner said, and what have you done to try to answer that question? And I said, I, I, I walked down here to your office. And she said, let me get this straight. You're an associate, I'm a partner. I bill out at a much higher rate than you do. And arguably, right, I'm working on much more complicated things than you are. And you came across something you didn't know the answer to. And instead of doing anything to try to answer it for yourself, you thought the best option was to come in here, interrupt me, stop me from doing billable client work to answer a question you couldn't be bothered to try to answer for yourself. If I could have just burst into flames in that moment, I 100% feel like I would have. I was
It's
so
terrifying.
beyond
That's got to be terrifying.
mortified, horrified of like, that's exactly what happened. And what was going through my brain that made me think that was appropriate? Nothing. I wasn't thinking, right? It was just, and I said, that's a yes. You've summarized that to perfection. That was exactly what happened. And she said, and where would you like to go from here? And I said, I would like to tuck my tail between my legs and politely get out of your office as quickly as
Yeah.
possible and go
Yeah.
try to find the answer myself. She said, I think that's a real excellent approach. If after trying to resolve it yourself, you can't, come back here and we'll talk it
Wow.
out.
Wow. What a great life lesson. Holy
It
mackerel.
was it was such a great life lesson of never ask a question unless you've tried to answer it
Yeah.
yourself. People are so much more willing to help you if you can say, I've hit I've hit a stumbling block. I don't know the answer. Here's what I've done to try to answer it.
Yeah.
Um, don't ask people to just spoon feed you things, because you're sort of then saying that your time is more my time's more valuable. I can't be bothered to look this up. Just give it to me. No,
Well,
try
and
to
the other,
answer
but
it yourself.
I love that. And the other lesson is it's a disservice to you because
Absolutely.
you're giving a teenager an answer. Like my son is going. We got to book a hotel for him to go out to college. We're driving out to college, all that. And I could just book the hotel, but no, we said no.
Yeah,
You look up the hotel and you book it. Let him do the things that are gonna. So I think that lawyer, maybe could have been nicer, but ultimately you needed that harsh reality. And I love that. And you're never going to make that mistake again because
right.
that's such an incredible, I love
I
that.
think
Well,
it was hard in the moment, but I think she played it right because it shocked me to my core, and it
yeah,
has changed the way I am professionally. And it has served me. It serves me every
yeah,
single day.
so great.
That was a great lesson. So that was a big mistake that I made embarrassingly and publicly, but it served me well. So
Yeah, well, fantastic. Hey, let's take a moment, thank our incredible sponsors. Of course, PimCon coming up. It's getting tight. Sign up today. Go to PimCon and check that out. The top personal injury mastermind conference of the year. Of course, Lex Reception. If you are answering your phones, for shame, don't do it. There are professionals that can do it. I was just buying flowers for my wife and I called a flower shop and I just got, this is when we're open. And I'm thinking they should be selling flowers 24/7, not when we're open. Like that isn't like how much business are you throwing away? So don't do that as a lawyer. People want to reach you at 10 o'clock. You should have someone answering your phone. And of course, lawyer.com. If you're not being found online, you're probably not a part of lawyer.com. Check them out and get together with it right away. Laurin, people want to get in touch with you, learn more about MB Law Firm Consulting, the best digits.
best my phone number, I'm happy to give out my personal cell, which is 617-888-1415. You can also email me, which is Laurin. I do spell it differently, so it's LAURIN at mblawconsulting.com.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, I'm so happy that we met for lunch with Margaret and that we were able to get you on the show. And I'm just so grateful that we were able to have this conversation, help some lawyers today to do things a little more proactively and effectively with their networking. So appreciate you so much. And I'm looking forward to continue to work with you and Margaret, you two, my favorite people now. So we'll keep it going.
Thank you so much, Steve. I had so much fun.
Yeah. And I
This was
told you it was
great.
going to
Appreciate
fly
it.
by, didn't I?
Yes, absolutely. Sure did.
It goes by in a blink, folks. Well,
It
hopefully
does.
everybody got some great takeaways. I know I counted at least 10 things that we talked about today that may hit you the right way or the wrong way to get you on a better track. Helping you to be that lawyer, confident, organized, and a skilled rainmaker. You guys, it's time to build that book, own your future, and be that lawyer. Take care, be safe, and be well. We'll talk again soon.